Hi, Sheryl. How are you? Would you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and how long you've lived here?
I'm Sheryl Cooper from Cuenca, Ecuador. I've lived here for 2 years.
And you're on your own here. You don't have family or anything. You've just moved here. No children or grandchildren.
That's correct.
Okay. What are you doing here? I mean, are you retired? Or are you working? Or
I'm retired. I do some online editing.
okay. And what was your background? What were you doing before you came here?
Directly before I came here, I lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. I had moved there after 6 years in Thailand, doing university administration mainly in Thailand, and then I returned to the States and worked for the state of Arkansas just for about 13 months, or about a year and a half actually, and then I retired and then moved to Cuenca.
And so you said you've lived here for about 2 years
2
now?
years. Mm-hmm.
And so why do you live overseas? Why did you come here?
Well, I've lived overseas. I lived 6 years in Thailand, 2 years in Vietnam. I came here because I had been in Arkansas and had retired and taken Social Security early. It was a very small pension, but I thought I could probably supplement that with work, with some part-time work, but never really could find any part-time work. The job market is so difficult, and I wasn't sure what I would do. And a friend of mine mentioned Cuenca to me, and I did research on Cuenca. And having been in Arkansas for 4 years at that time, the weather and climate in Cuenca was very, very attractive because it had been horribly hot in Arkansas. And Cuenca is cool all year long.
Uh-huh.
And the cost of living is moderate, and so.
Had you visited Cuenca before?
No,
Okay, so you just picked up and moved here.
that's correct.
All right. What kind of challenges did you face when you arrived here, and have you faced since then?
Well, not nearly as many as I faced when I moved to Southeast Asia. Here it was more like just moving to another state
Okay.
than moving to a foreign country, except that I couldn't speak the language very well, and that is the most daunting thing, is not being able to communicate effectively, because my Spanish is very poor, and that's the troubles that I've had have mainly been because of lack of good communication.
Around communication. Have they been linguistic or cultural primarily?
I would say primarily linguistic. Of course, there are cultural things involved. Things move much more slowly here. And mañana, means really doesn't even mean mañana. It means sometime in the future.
And so, why do you think you're finding it more comfortable or less of a culture shock to live here than it was to live in Southeast Asia?
Well, this is in the Americas, and so the language is based on the same, so the Roman alphabet, and
Latin stem.
The Latin verb based words, and more also more like-mindedness because of Christianity or Roman Catholicism rather than Buddhism or communism or any of the other various things that influence Asia, Southeast Asia.
And what have been the most difficult challenges or issues that you faced personally living overseas?
Not having good cheese, which which may sound minor, but it is. It's a big thing. I'm kind of joking, but I think one of the main things that people find difficult to get used to are the lack of our differences in cuisine. Now, of course, our cuisines are quite similar, just not as much variety here. But that's actually, there's not been a great challenge.
How about in Asia as compared to here?
Oh, yeah, in Asia, it was a challenge every day.
And in what ways were some of those?
I mean, you know, every day was a new adventure because just going out your door and going shopping and things like that, just trying to get normal things done was very difficult.
What do you think the best things are about living in another country, living in a foreign country?
Well, I think you're a lot freer to be yourself, and things are much more interesting. It's almost like being on holiday every day. That can get kind of tiresome at times, but usually it's a great benefit.
How do you feel about the social life here as an expatriate?
Oh, the social life is incredible. I have a much greater social life than I've had in 30 years.
And can you give me some examples of how that comes about?
Well, it's just word of mouth. It's a very close knit expat community, but that does not mean that you have to socialize with expats. If you choose to, you can certainly socialize with Cuencanos, a mixture, or whatever you want to do. But there's always something going on. Cuenca is a very vibrant city. It's for its concerts and art showings and all kinds of things going on. There's always holidays. There are always parades and event festivals, and among the expats, it's growing more and more that there are restaurants that cater to like expat nights or gringo nights where that give specials, and they're always packed, and you can go out, you can be doing something 24/7 if you choose.
And there are lots of restaurants and places where expatriates congregate.
Yes.
Just from what I've seen here in the last few days. Can you share an episode that illustrates maybe some of the best about your experience living overseas?
Yes, I had one. Now I've forgotten it.
Well, we can come back to that.
Jeez Louise.
But what about support for new expatriates that move in here?
Absolutely incredible. You can start being supported before you even get here because there are expat Facebook pages and other forums online where you can ask any question you want and get all of the answers. And if you ask for help, you'll get 30 answers, and that's for anything.
What do you think about the cost of living here and the medical support? I know a lot of people are concerned about, insurance and all that kind of thing. How does that work here?
The cost of living is going up. It's very reasonable if you live as the Ecuadorians do. You can live very cheaply, but if you need anything exported, any foods or whatever, you're going to pay a premium price for that. Housing right now is very, very reasonable, but it's going up.
So what typically would you Or what do you pay for like an apartment, and can you describe what your apartment is
Right.
like? And,
I have a very nice 2-bedroom, 2-bath, large living dining area and large kitchen with laundry area and things with gorgeous views for $350 a month. That's without utilities. Utilities pay about $50 a month for direct TV, about $27 a month for internet, and about $25 a month for electricity. So it's about another. So I would say maybe total 450
for
everything.
for your house. And then what about the cost of living for food and so on? I mean, can you get by on another $700 or $800 a month? Or?
$700 or $800 a month.
Yeah.
I live on $800 a month.
Okay, well that puts it, that encapsulates it. Let's see. Well, you had a lot of overseas living. Oh, I wanted to ask you about the medical insurance and so on.
Oh, right. There are some very, very good, cheap medical insurances here. The medical facilities here there's some world class medical, and then it goes down, but you can get good, excellent care and very personalized care, unlike in the States. Very personalized. And I know several couples that have a good insurance policy for $100 a month for both of them. That covers both of them.
And what about the capabilities and competencies of the medical staff here?
Well, most have been, or I can't say most, but quite a few have had their training in the United States, and are very good. I mean, it's just like anywhere, I guess, you can find good and bad.
Well, you obviously had a lot of preparation because you lived overseas in other cultures and so on, so you knew about culture shock and all those kind of things. What kind of an orientation do you think people should have, or what kind of what should they do to prepare themselves to move to a culture like exists here in Cuenca?
Well, right now, I think there's a tremendous lot of information out there, and the best way is to go on the internet and join some of the forums, and there's practically a forum for everywhere. and if not, you could probably start one. But you do have to take things with a grain of salt. For instance, on the Expat Facebook forum, there's for Ecuador, there's a lot of talk about the crime in Ecuador. And it scares people, which is absolutely ridiculous because it's compared to the United States, or you use precautions and you find out what you need to do, but you certainly don't dwell on it. But that's what you need to find out, what people are talking about, and ask any question, which you can do on these forums. But you also need to take everything with a grain of salt and do further research to make sure that's the correct information.
Well, I guess as far as crime goes, a city like Cuenca, which is a pretty large city, probably has a lower crime rate maybe than someplace like New York or Los Angeles.
Very definitely. Crime is more prevalent on the coast here.
At Guayaquil?
Oh yeah. It's they say it's going down, but it has a really bad reputation.
And that's typically port cities like that, right? Where you have a lot of people. I mean, that's the largest city in Ecuador, isn't it?
Second largest is Quito, Guayaquil.
Quito is larger?
And then Guayaquil, and then Cuenca's the third.
Do you have an interesting story that you experienced or have heard about Americans experience in the local culture, or about Americans living overseas?
I had one of those too, and now there's so many, and there's so many just sweet, sweet stories. No, very few not nice stories.
Yeah,
It's usually the Cuencan and Cuencanos and the Ecuadorians all are basically really good people. You'll find that they'll go out of their way to help you, and there's some stellar stories. If I
Well,
could
you know
just
what?
remember
We
one.
can, we can come back and add it in when you think about it. So what advice would you have for other American expatriates considering a move to South America or to Cuenca specifically?
Well, to Cuenca, I would say, don't come, please. Stay where you are.
Too many American expatriates already.
People are pouring in every week
Uh-huh.
because. Also, do not believe International Living hype. The magazine International Living. They make money on this stuff.
Sure.
And it really
Well,
is
they
a
have
hype.
expensive conferences and things here to encourage people to come and buy land and all kinds of things.
But there are too many coming right now, and I think too many are coming that have not done their research, and they just think it's pie in the sky, and they hear all the wonderful things that International Living says, and then they come and they have to deal with things, deal with things in a different language, and they can't handle it.
Totally different culture. Okay, is there anything else that you'd like to comment on related to the experience of living abroad? And as I said, we can add additional pieces in, or comments or stories later.
No, one thing I can think of is, like I told you about the medical services being personalized. You walk in, and the doctor spends as much time with you as you need. It doesn't say, okay, like I had at Kaiser, after I've said, I'm there because Kevorkian wouldn't give me an appointment, and the doctor says, well, our 15 minutes is up. We'll take that up next time. Here, they sit down with you and they talk about anything you want to talk about, and take as much time as possible. Then if you need a ride home, they'll give you a ride home.
David was talking earlier about after his wife had some surgery that they were coming to the house like daily, following up, visiting at the house.
Yeah,
So,
and veterinarians do the same thing too.
All right, well, thank you very much, Sheryl, for sharing some of your stories, and we'll add in some other comments as we go along.
Good.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.